The diner is open for business. Breaking news. Another COVID variant? Also, was Lilo and Stitch any good? And what does P. Diddy put on his cheeseburger? This is episode 8 of Burgers and Fries at the Diner. Of course, we like to talk mainly pop culture, entertainment, music, and sometimes politics. I'm Desert Coyote 22, but you can call me Anthony if you wish. And with me on this episode, if this man has standards, he would never let Rachel Zegler sit on his face. It's Mr. Pat, aka Pat. Am I right about that?
I don't know. I mean, I probably would.
Okay. And the number of protons on this man determines his number is Atomical, aka Adam. How you doing?
Hey, I think I'm pretty good today.
Eventually, when there become enough elements and protons, you'll eventually figure out Atomical's phone number.
Ooh.
So let's just start off with something more lighthearted. Although, of course, when we're talking about the person involved, it's going to sound pretty gross. But you know what? What's the name of this podcast, guys?
Burgers and Fries, of course.
So we've never really talked about burgers and fries, have we?
In this entire podcast, yeah.
No, we have not. So I guess now is the time we can do so. So I got to ask Adam, or I got to ask Pat, what do you like with your burgers? What do you like on the side with your burgers?
French fries.
Of course, French fries as usual. I mean, I don't mind chips, but it's usually French fries, and I'm very often satisfied.
I'm not that big into chips.
All right. So now I'm going to ask both of you guys, if you had a choice for your favorite fast food burger, or even just any place that makes a burger in general, what's your go-to?
That's a tough one because I like McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King, Culver's. But if I had to pick one, probably go with McDonald's.
For fast food, Chick-fil-A, Culver's.
Have either of you guys had In-N-Out?
Yes.
No.
Generally, anytime people come out to the West Coast, if people that I know who live in the Midwest that don't have access to In-N-Out, that's usually one of the first things they want to go to is In-N-Out if they're visiting from Missouri or if they're visiting from back east where the In-N-Out is not there. I like McDonald's. I like Wendy's. I don't go to Burger King as often. You guys ever had Baker's?
No.
I don't think I've heard of.
It's American and Mexican fast food. So you can get either a burger or a burrito there. Maybe that's California exclusive. I don't know. How do you like your fries? Do you like them well done and crunchy, or do you like them soft?
I mean, I like both, but I think I probably prefer the crunchy type.
Typically, I would order the fries really well done. McDonald's, if they're well done and they're hot, they're fresh and hot, they're nice and salty, they're great.
Sure, but not too much like what McDonald's does with their fries.
I don't know. I like their fries.
I mean, I do too, but they add, I think, far too much salt, more than necessary.
I think
just depends. That's what makes it so good.
I think it just depends on the restaurant. I've been to some of them that almost add zero salt. So now I got to ask you guys, what do you like to put on your burger? What sauces, what condiments do you like on your burger?
Ketchup and mustard.
Okay.
I tend not to add much or any sauce on the burger that I already have.
Okay.
Well, what's interesting is that I was inspired by Good Burger to make my own version of Edge sauce, so I did just that. but instead of calling it Ed sauce, I call it Pat sauce.
Did they ever figure out the ingredients for Ed sauce? Was it basically just another version of Thousand Island?
Yes, it's basically Thousand Island dressing.
I'm actually not the biggest fan of Thousand Island on the burgers. It makes them almost too droopy, too gooey. I typically order the burgers dry. However, I do like me some mayo and ketchup on the burger. That's usually the condiments I go to.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys like tomato, onion, lettuce? Like
I like having those. Tomato, onion, lettuce, bacon.
There you go. Now, here is why I wanted to go to talk about this, is because we did a big podcast talking about Diddy and the shit that he got in trouble with. There has been ongoing questionnaires going on in his trials. One of the questions of all things is they got a wind of Sean P. Diddy Combs' favorite topping on his cheeseburgers. Are you guys ready to hear what his favorite topping on his cheeseburger is?
Yes.
Sure.
Applesauce.
What?
I thought I was going to hear something more absurd than that because he's P. Diddy, but
yeah, me too.
What, you think he was going to add his own cum to the burger? Maybe he does that in the privacy of his own home, but I don't.
Yeah,
I think he would.
Exactly what we were thinking.
Dude, if he tried doing that in a public setting, I highly doubt they would allow him to do it without getting arrested for public nudity.
The other thing is that I don't know why they would bring this up, of all things, in one of his trials.
This is
Yeah, it just seems rather irrelevant to the trial.
It kind of does, but this is shit that's popped up on news articles, including people.com. These are ex-employees testifying about his odd food demands, including applesauce on cheeseburgers. So while testifying at Combs' sex trafficking trial on May 22, ex-employee George Kaplan described how the rapper and his team used a black Amex card to cover everything Combs requested, from baby oil to yacht rentals and luxury villas. And the defense lawyer questioned if those items included applesauce. Kaplan explained, Mr. Combs loves applesauce and eats it on the side or on top of a lot of things. Cheeseburger? The defense lawyer asked, to which Kaplan responded, yep, cheeseburgers being one of them.
I don't know what that has to do with, like, everything he did.
It's very strange that even the press would pick up on that as much as they do.
It's funny, though. It's like during the trial, they asked him, were you aware he put applesauce on his cheeseburger? I was not aware, but I knew he liked applesauce.
I mean, it's about as ridiculous as a teddy bear suing for his civil rights.
So, P. Diddy, this guy, sex trafficked. He forced himself on a lot of people, probably. Did a lot of freaky things, got a lot of celebrities involved with these criminal activities, but he put applesauce on his cheeseburger. That's where you got to draw the line, folks.
Yeah,
that should be illegal.
We need some water. We need locks on the doors.
Don't forget the applesauce. It's very important. He has the applesauce at his disposal. What about the baby oil?
I'm surprised he didn't order the double, triple Bossy Deluxe on a raft like Bubble Bass did.
That would be going further.
Yeah, I'll get the triple deluxe with baby oil and applesauce. So what are they going to do? They're going to give him a year for putting applesauce on his burger. What? Next thing you know, they're going to find out he puts pineapple on his pizzas.
Well, there's already pineapples on pizzas, especially the Hawaiian type. So what?
I know, I'm just fucking with people, and I'm definitely somebody who does not like pineapple on pizza.
Another thing about Diddy is that there's some talk about Trump possibly pardoning Diddy.
Oh, good Lord.
Yes, I heard about that.
Oh, where did you hear about this? If that were actually true, if that's something that Trump would do, the whole country would turn on him. Like that.
Yeah, and he needs to really be aware of that. Now, I did hear a counterpoint that, Trump is teasing, he's joking. which is the same thing that he says about that they say about other things, like him talking about running for a third term, which we know is not going to happen.
Yeah, he does that to piss off his haters.
So if you want to troll people and say, "Oh yeah, I'll pardon Diddy," like, no.
That is even if it's just a trolling or a joke or a tease, that is going way too far even for him.
Yeah, Trump is going to pardon the guy whose noteworthy items during a 2024 raid included AR-15 style rifles with their serial numbers scratched off, with loaded magazines, drugs such as MDMA and Xanax, sex toys, lingerie, 25 bottles of Johnson's baby oil, as well as one rubber duck. What the fuck does he need a rubber duck for?
Unless if he is using, if he has that for his littlest kids, there is no need for him to have a freaking rubber duck unless if he wants to mockery of himself.
He loves rubber duckies.
And on the new Adam West Batman, it's the newest villain. It's the Diddler.
With his dang rubber ducky.
Oh no.
Yeah, he's like Ernie from Sesame Street.
Oh, that would give that the bad name.
Oh, God.
Rubber ducky, get the oil.
They don't feel bad for Cassie Ventura because she had been dating Diddy for, I think it was 11 years. And, he kept on abusing her so physically, and yet she still stuck with him.
Yeah, I can understand that sentiment too. There's definitely people that I know that made very bad decisions with who they were dating for so long, and then they come up to me and it's like, "Oh, how can this person do this to me? I can't believe they did that stuff to me." And it's like, you were a fucking idiot for being with them for so long. That's why they did it to you. Oh, I suppose.
Yeah. Like, I understand it would be one thing for it to be, difficult to break away from, but if he's being so bad to you consistently, you need to do it as fast as fucking possible.
If the red flags are being waved in your face, I don't care how much money you're getting it, you gotta get the fuck away. So now let's go on to the next topic that I have that we're going here. And now we're going to be talking about a couple of movies that Pat has seen. One of them I've seen along with him. So, of course, the big elephant in the room, Pat, is the Lilo and Stitch remake any good at all?
No.
So what was wrong with it?
First of all, it was just an unnecessary remake. We didn't need that because the original is a million times better than the remake. Second of all, the CGI on Pleakley and Lilo, or not Lilo, Pleakley and Jumba are ugly. They're hideous.
Remember, this is the same Disney studio that gave us the 7 ugly fucking dwarfs in the last entry that they gave us. So
I was just getting ready to say that. It's as bad as the dwarfs.
Oh no, wait till you actually see the dwarfs. When you actually watch the movie, Pat, you'll be like, why the fuck am I watching this?
Yeah, I mean, it would be like, the ugly animation Polar Express. It would make the Polar Express seem very well polished.
So what else was wrong with Lilo and Stitch? I mean, we get it. It's a bad Disney remake, but that can be said about so many of them. They just can't seem to get it right, except for maybe 1 or 2.
They never brought in Gantu because they thought it'd be too expensive to animate Gantu. Oh, but you can have all the other CGI characters in the movie. I mean, you're fucking Disney. You should be able to afford it. You made tons of money from your big hits like Avengers Endgame and the Pirates of the Caribbean and whatnot. So surely you can afford a bit of money to animate Gantu. And what do you do instead? You make Jumba the main villain of the movie. And it just goes completely against this character. Oh, and I forgot to mention, he has no Russian accent, and I like Zach Galifianakis, but he's no David Ogden Stiers.
Yeah, I find this pretty inexcusable too, because Disney spends tons of money, so many millions of dollars on each of these live action CG movies, whether they're remakes or the Marvel movies or the Star Wars movies or even the Pirates movies, and yet this is still the case.
It kind of makes you wonder what they're going to do with Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. If I'm being totally honest, as a bit excited as I am for those movies, I am also really concerned that they're going to botch it big time.
Like we said, look at how much money they spent on The Acolyte, and that show was a piece of shit that looked cheaper than anything you would have seen off Star Trek The Next Generation. I'm not meaning to knock Star Trek The Next Generation. It's obviously a very well-beloved show from back in the 80s and 90s. Like, it was obvious that show it's all California. So every alien world is clearly California. And somehow The Acolyte, which costs millions of dollars per episode, looked cheaper than that. That's what I'm saying. That's Lucasfilm for you.
I mean, Disney is really cutting corners, and that's not good. I mean, how could they be so cheap? I mean, look what they did with the Hulk in the MCU.
Well, they made him Mark Ruffalo, and then Ruffalo just decided he can't keep his mouth shut, and now he's Ruffalo the activist instead of Ruffalo the actor.
Yeah, he doesn't even do any Hulk smashing.
Well, that reminds me, sounds like Rachel Zegler to me.
Zegler smash. No, we do not want to smash Zegler. Sorry.
No way.
Well, I don't know. I probably wouldn't rule it out.
You just have to put a piece of tape on. Wait a minute. Nah. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah,
No.
right.
It doesn't. But yeah, no one asked for a Lilo and Stitch remake, and but the same goes for some of the other movies they remade, like Dumbo and
Lady and the Tramp.
Oh yeah, that too. Aladdin, Lion King,
remake.
Are they still going ahead with the Moana live action remake? Even though Moana is
probably.
Is that movie even 10 years old?
No, it's not. I think it came out in 2016 or 17 or something like that. Oh,
good Lord. And now they have to do a remake of something that's not even that old. I can agree with there. So last thoughts on that before we're going to go to the next movie I want to talk about.
What they did with the character of Nani by just the whole dynamic between Lilo and Nani just felt completely meaningless, because in this remake, throughout the film, throughout the remake, it's established that she wants to go to college to be a biologist, and in the end, she just does that and forgets about being there for Lilo, and just Lilo gets left with the neighbor and David.
Yeah, and to me, I would be glad if Disney were to just end up ending the their series of remakes, and they're ruining and tainting their legacy, and it's basically the current and latest equivalent to the direct-to-video cheap sequels that Disney made tons of in the 90s and 2000s.
I don't know. I don't think it's ever going to happen. They're going to continue pumping out live-action remake one after another every year.
They're supposedly going to stop doing it. Like, obviously they had to finish up Lilo and Stitch, and they're probably going to finish up the live action Moana, because it's Dwayne The Rock Johnson. You're going to have to work with him. But
he was in the original.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But anyway, but the thing is, I think as a result of the really, really piss poor box office bomb that Snow White was, I think Disney has finally said, we can't do these as much anymore. We can't pump we need to invest in something else. We need to invest in actual new creative ideas. And obviously, the other part of that is they're realizing we can't keep inserting, all the left wing politics, all of the quote unquote woke stuff in the newer movies now, because people are catching wind of it and they're not going to buy the tickets anymore.
These are really good points.
There's a lot of things that they have to realize, and I think it's a slow pivot, and we're going to keep ridiculing them for the next few years. But I think Snow White was probably like it's the leftover from the 2016 to 2020 era of filmmaking that everybody was pushing for, and now that the pendulum was swung back much harder than of course. So before we get to the next movie, let's briefly talk about the fact that one of my favorite animated series of all time is coming back, and that's King of the Hill. So what do we think about that new trailer, that new intro that they teased us?
I loved it.
I like the new the trailer, and it's pretty funny. Certainly not similar to the original King of the Hill.
So I think we're not getting new episodes until over the summer. So it's just maybe a few months of speculating on how what's grown up Bobby going to be like, what's older Peggy, what's older Hank going to be like,
and GH.
That's right. Now that the Colonel is passed on, slapping the asses of angels in heaven, who's going to take care of GH?
Probably his widowed wife, Didi.
Of course. But maybe, yeah, that's right. Maybe we might get a cameo from GH at, however long this is going to be. Maybe this is Bobby in college or Bobby as an adult. But, there's definitely no questioning the milkman in that relationship. Bobby is definitely Hank's son.
I just think it's funny that Cotton in the original named his son, second son Good Hank or GH.
I know. Maybe we'll get Cotton back in a flashback. And of course, are they, in terms of the character Luann, well, Brittany Murphy passed on. So are they going to...
And Tom Petty, who played Lucky, is also dead.
That's right. They're both gone. So are they going to be recast, or are they not going to really be in the series that much?
I think I was watching a video by Johnny Tuselos. He was like reading like in one of the show descriptions that Lucky and Luann might be moving away. I don't know about their little daughter. I forget her name.
Gracie.
Yeah, I don't know if she's going to make any appearances or not. That's unclear at the moment.
There's definitely, they're obviously going to insert a lot of more modern day humor, modern day stuff that's going on, because this is clearly going to be, King of the Hill in 2025 or whatever. I think Mike Judge knows what he's doing. Like, he managed to bring back Beavis and Butthead and keep it relevant, so I'm pretty sure he's going to do just fine with King of the Hill.
Oh, of course.
I don't think it'll be an issue.
I think we're going to have a good time with it. So, yeah, I'll be definitely
interested.
I
will.
Yep, same here.
Mike Judge already brought back Beavis and Butthead twice.
Yeah, and it's still just as funny as ever. I never have any issues with it.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So yeah, there's some hopes for King of the Hill, and I'm sure it'll be Judge and everyone else will take good care of it, even with new voice actors or a new voice actor for characters like Dale.
Yeah, maybe they're going to write Dale off the show as a tribute to Johnny Hardwick, or they'll keep Dale on and just let Toby Huss voice him.
Actually, I heard from that same YouTuber I watched earlier today, like I said, Johnny Tuselos, that Toby Huss has already been casted to replace Johnny Hardwick as Dale.
Okay, well, Toby Huss can definitely pull him off. I'm sure he'll be.
Yeah,
I'm sure he'll
he
do him just
also
fine.
played Khan.
Well, Khan and Cotton Hill are very similar in voice. One's just Asian accent. So Toby Huss can obviously do anything. But anyway,
And
so we're good.
I
So
don't think Khan's even going to be in the show because of race issues.
oh, that
But
would be
we
bullshit.
did see him in the intro.
We'll find out. Nobody really had issues with Khan in the in the original show.
Yeah, and one other thing about King of the Hill is that the original series was popular, but for the most of the time, never super popular. It was large. Most of the time, it was just a modest hit.
Yeah, but it was enough.
Yeah,
It was popular
it got
enough.
canceled to make room for the Cleveland show, and then Bob's Burgers and whatever else Fox was pumping at the time.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
Yeah, but I think King of the Hill, the original series, actually had a very, very fitting ending, because at the very end, it's Bobby having an actual activity that he and Hank bond over, and he ends up winning a competition doing that same activity. So I think that was a very good ending to it. And then sure, let's see the time skip. But anyway, now we're going to go into the last movie that we're going to talk about, Karate Kid Legends. So Pat saw this. I saw this. What'd you think of it, Pat?
It was all right. I didn't hate it, but I wouldn't call it the best out of the series.
No, it's definitely not the best. And I enjoyed it for what it is, but we can agree it's pretty much the same story. I mean, here, let's see if we've heard this story before. A teenage boy with a single mother moves to a new location because of the job, strikes up a romance with a local, deals with the next boyfriend who happens to be a karate champ, and everything must get resolved by the main character entering a karate tournament. Have we heard that plot before?
Yep.
I mean, this is
go ahead.
This is the same story told for the third time.
That was Karate Kid, the first movie. That was Karate Kid, the third movie. It was a rehash. That was Karate Kid, the Jackie Chan remake with Jaden Smith. And this is Karate Kid Legend. It's the same story.
What about the next Karate Kid with Hilary Swank? Does that count?
If you want to say that counts, you can. I don't think it technically does.
I mean, I know it's not a movie that anyone really wants to talk about, but I feel like it's worth acknowledging.
I think more people are fine with the next Karate Kid with Hilary Swank. It's the one with Jaden Smith that a lot of people don't seem to remember, that they don't seem to talk about that much anymore.
Even though it's got its fans.
It's got its fans, and it's Jackie Chan. I mean, how can you not like Jackie Chan? Now, they did add some new things to make things different. So the main character isn't a outcast necessarily, and he's not a total beginner at karate. He actually has studied under Jackie Chan's character, and instead of being beat up for most of the film, he actually helps a shopkeeper and beats up a bunch of loan sharkers. So they actually did some differences there.
Yeah, I like the boxing subplot. It's almost like, the people behind Karate Kid wanted to once again pay tribute to the Rocky movies.
But didn't you think it was a little ridiculous that a kung fu student is teaching a boxer? Like, last I checked, I don't think kung fu translates well to boxing. It's two completely different disciplines.
I did actually, in fact, found it to be rather problematic. I might as well address the elephant in the room that having Jackie Chan's character from the Karate Kid 2010 film being connected to Mr. Miyagi, I felt like was kind of shoehorned in and felt out of place.
Hello?
Oh, look who just joined in. And if this guy wishes he was gonna be starting something, it's Thriller Wolf, aka Greg. Glad you can finally join us.
Did I miss anything?
You missed us talking about how P. Diddy puts applesauce on his cheeseburger. And
Damn.
you missed us talking about some of the movies. So we're in the middle of talking Karate Kid Legends. And I agree with you, Pat. I think the selling point of the trailer was Jackie Chan teaming up with Daniel LaRusso. I mean, that was in the trailer. People knew that's what the movie was going to be, but that's only in the last third. The first 2/3 of it was Lee's story. So the team up, it felt like it was two different movies. One of them was a remake of the Karate Kid with Lee's story, and then the other movie was, oh wait, we got to bring Daniel in, we got to bring Jackie Chan in. So would you agree with that?
I mean,
there, Pat?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it could have been worse. I mean, they could have just shoehorned in a multiversal storyline just to justify it.
Well, of course, because of the success of Cobra Kai, then we had to have a cameo by our favorite character, Johnny, at the very end. And it's not much of a spoiler,
that
folks.
I actually did mind. I loved it.
And again, it's not much of a spoiler, folks, because it's literally an end credit scene and it has nothing to do with the plot. Any closing thoughts on Karate Kid Legends?
Well, like I said, I didn't hate it, but I don't love it.
I would watch it again. Eventually, I will rewatch all of Cobra Kai because I probably want to do a whole retrospective video essay on it.
Oh, that should be fun.
That would
I
be
would
good.
watch it.
So there we go. So, of course, there is a big elephant in the room, and it has to do with fucking COVID. Did I hear this right? Are they really worried about a new COVID variant?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ugh, really?
It's not really the first time that I've heard of a story like this, though. So it is not something to overreact in fear of, but it is also something to, at least stay on our toes for.
Sure. But now the thing is, everybody's thinking, oh my God, new COVID variant. Does this mean we're going to go back to the lockdown and the shutdowns?
Oh, no.
I don't think we're going to go back to that. I think now with the data that now that it has happened, it's basically been like a big social experiment. And then now the government and now the people know that this is what happens if they do that again. There's no way people would be up for that anymore. I feel like people would rise up. Did anyone
see the video by Mr. Enter about his predictions of what the fallout of COVID from 2020 would be like?
I did not.
No.
Huh?
And honestly, I hope there's not going to be another shutdown because I was going to go crazy during those times.
Yeah, do we really want to go back to that? I mean, it's the whole shutdowns, the protocols that we had to follow.
I don't think the introverts would even give a shit if they did go into another lockdown. They probably would think it was like the best thing to ever happen to them.
Good Lord, dude. There's still people at my work in LA that still wear masks. I still have coworkers that wear them.
And well, the only people
that they stay home and work or do nothing with their lives.
And I was going to say the only people that seem to want to have more of the lockdowns are, well, liberals, socialists, and Marxists and all that.
Right. They want the government to take over. They want the government to control everything. It's like, no, we can't do this anymore. So according to Time Magazine, what to know about the new COVID-19 variant NB181. Okay. Let's see. So it's still part of the Omicron family, which means that current vaccines and immunity should provide protection. What are the symptoms of it? So basically sore throat, fever, cough, and fatigue. So it sounds like another fucking common cold to me.
Yep.
And are common colds really that dangerous or something?
They are if you're immunocompromised. If you have AIDS, the common cold can kill you. If you have some form of
diabetes.
If you have health problems, then yes, the common cold can kill you. If people have to take precautions, if I'm okay with saying, all right, hey, folks, please wash your hands after you're eating. Wash your hands if you go to the bathroom. Shit like that. It's okay to remind people to stay hygienic, to be precautionary. If you know that there are people that are sick, that's okay. But I think people are definitely going to be like, hell no, if they try pushing forced lockdowns again and saying, no, everybody has to wear the masks, even though they didn't work. Everybody needs to social distance, even though that didn't work. Everybody needs to stay home, even though that didn't stop the spread.
It only made people more isolated than ever before.
Because of kids needing facial expressions and cognitive development, that stuff actually affected their development because of that stuff. Like it put them behind.
And what? Are they going to say, oh, if you don't support the lockdowns, you're a racist?
Well,
just like with anything else, they'll argue that you're racist or homophobic or whatever.
Person. You're a racist. You're a bigot. You need to put on a mask. You're affecting my health. No, you're the one who eats 5,000 cheeseburgers a day, fat ass.
Yeah.
Crazy Toad strikes again.
But anyway, Mr. Renner even predicted that one day we would eventually start to experience a 1918 level pandemic, but people just won't give a shit because they'll have already been so scarred by the first pandemic that people just won't care if people are dying or whatever. They'll just turn their backs against the government.
Yeah, there's more people like that than there would have in 2020.
Like this wasn't a be-all, end-all pandemic. This wasn't cordyceps like The Last of Us that resulted in infected people turning into zombies.
Unlike the people that did the 2020 riots and all that.
But what I loved about that was during the 2020 riots, we were told, stay home, don't do social gatherings. If you go to a concert or a ball game, that's a super spreader event. But, if you go to a George Floyd protest, that's not a super spreader event. You can go do that.
Bullshit.
But it increased the amount of people who had COVID, and it spread that virus even further than it otherwise would have.
But they were told it's okay to do that. That was what was bullshit. But it's okay. We've determined that that's not a super spreader event. You can go protest peacefully. Like, you fucking morons.
Now, did the January 6th Capitol riot happen during the pandemic or after the pandemic?
During. It was 2021.
So it's wrong when people do the January 6th stuff, but it's okay when the retards of the 2020 riots do that? That's okay?
Right. There was definitely some double standards there.
Yeah, and I think what both of those sides have in common is that we have so many people on both the left and the right that are brainwashed and easy to manipulate. That's the core problem with all of these things. And, the right, for instance, before Trump started running for president, the Tea Party movement was very popular. And then suddenly disappeared after Trump started running for president. I think many of the Tea Partiers later became Trump supporters or even diehard Trump supporters. It's not that they believed in any of the principles of and policies that the Tea Party movement believed in. It's just that they were believing in what they were hearing on the internet, Fox News, or talk radio.
Well, we saw firsthand how easily manipulated people got to be. Now, I mean, they can say, well, we just didn't know all the information at the time yet. But then as soon as we did know the information, people stopped. It took a while before people realized, fuck this, and then they stopped doing the mandates. In fact, even in California, people just stopped following them, and then they just quit enforcing them. And there was no formal announcement. There was nothing from Gavin Newsom saying, okay, we're going to stop doing the mandates. They just stopped enforcing them.
Oh, yeah, they got tired of it. Well, that's another thing. even in 2020, some of the information that we already know about COVID was already out there. Like the virus came from a Wuhan, China lab.
But you were racist for saying it came from China.
And that and the differences between those who, only had COVID and those who had something else along with COVID that exacerbated it. The differences between those who died directly from COVID and died off of something else even worse while having COVID, but COVID still exacerbated
that's definitely something that happened. I remember hearing that if somebody came into the hospital suffering from a gunshot wound or a stabbing or whatever, if they tested them for COVID and they happen to have COVID in the system, they could say that they died with COVID.
Died from
COVID, even though it was the gunshot wound that killed them.
And yet, the mainstream media covered it up, and if they were challenged or confronted with that information, they would suppress it and act like it's totally false misinformation.
Every doctor who spoke up and said, "Why are we doing this? We don't need to do this. Why, we don't need to force the vaccines on people." Every doctor who spoke up and said that, every scientist who said we don't need to do this, were just censored.
Because they say Dr. Fauci knows everything. He's a scientist. He is the science. Bullshit.
Anthony Fauci, it was like only using his career to like rise to stardom. Like he didn't really care so much about us. He was only trying to further his own career and become famous. Every doctor in the future will try their best to avoid being a Fauci because that's how they're going to lose our respect.
Yeah. Oh, Fauci was an absolute disgrace to science. So at the end of the day, okay, at its peak, COVID deaths were in the 20,000s, maybe the 30,000s per week. By the middle of 2023, we were only getting maybe 2,000 to 3,000 deaths per week. And nowadays, I don't even think they keep track of it. Like, it's been so minimal that they're not really keeping track of it anymore. So right, there's really no cause for alarm, but I would be definitely surprised if they decide, we need to lock down again. And I do not think,
if it gets very widespread again.
Right. Even if it gets widespread again, with Trump in office for the next 3 years, I highly doubt he would go through that again. Because remember, the lockdowns happened under the last year of his administration, and he was still blamed for COVID, which led him to being elected by unseasoned oatmeal known as Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, another thing I'll say in regards to that video was he also said that health officials frequently lie and they're willing to do it again to try to manipulate and, scare people.
And I was just telling them, you people can just go fuck yourselves and all that. I'd rather take the risk.
Yeah, I would much rather do it. If California goes into another lockdown, but Missouri doesn't, I'm going to fucking move to Missouri.
I don't blame you for that.
Well, at least you survived the California wildfires from earlier this year.
Yeah. So,
speaking of wildfires, there's one going on in northern Minnesota right now.
So, closing thoughts, guys. We're going to wrap this up.
Yeah. Fuck the lockdowns.
Indeed.
Yeah, and the thing is that even in 2020, not everybody needed to stay indoors under house arrest for months or even the greater part of a year.
I can definitely think that if they try the lockdowns again, remember in 2020, people who were working in Hollywood were still deemed essential to be able to still go to work, but somebody running a mom and pop restaurant down the street who was following COVID guidelines was forced to shut down. I definitely think Hollywood would be gone if there was another pandemic.
And I would say, good. Bye-bye. Well, the thing is that the shutdowns actually already impacted among many industries and areas the film industry, especially in California.
There's a lot of stuff that is reliant on tourism in California. There's especially over the Hollywood stuff. But if Hollywood keeps doing what they're doing, LA is eventually going to become like Detroit, where all of a sudden everybody has to move out because there's just no opportunity there. So with that said, the diner is closed. Thank you so much for joining this one, gentlemen. All right, looking forward to the next one. I'm Desert Coyote 22. Thanks for listening. Say goodbye, guys.
Goodbye, everyone.
Adios.